Have you ever found yourself wondering, do I really need all this pleasure, intimacy, desire? Isn't it time at my age to just relax and live a more relaxed life? Maybe you felt like your body has changed, that passion isn't what it used to be, and that touching has become less frequent. If so, you're not alone. Many people over 60 ask themselves the same questions. And you know what? These questions are completely normal. And what's more, they're a great opportunity to discover something very valuable: yourself. Today we will talk about a topic that is rarely discussed openly, but deserves attention: masturbation in old age. It is not just physiology or a medical term. It is a conversation about the body, pleasure, self-care, and most importantly, about how not to lose the feeling of life and joy, regardless of the numbers in your passport. You do not need to feel shame. You do not need to think that this is not for me anymore. Because the truth is that self-care, including sexual self-care, has no age. Never. You will be surprised, but masturbation is not only about sexuality. It is, first of all, about health, physical, emotional, and even spiritual. And that is where we will start. Imagine you wake up in the morning and feel light. You are in a good mood. Your body is not constrained. Movements are easy. You smile not because you have to, but because you really feel good. Sounds like a dream? It is quite achievable. Let's figure out how. Let's start with the fact that masturbation activates blood circulation. This is especially important after 60, when blood vessels are no longer as elastic and metabolism can slow down. Have you ever noticed how after light physical exercise it becomes easier to breathe and your mood improves? The same thing happens after masturbation. The heart starts beating a little faster, blood flows to the organs, including the brain, and you feel alive. Yes, that's right, alive. It's a kind of gentle cardio workout that doesn't require sneakers or a gym membership. Now imagine another situation. You were at home all day, didn't really talk to anyone, and evening came and melancholy rolled in. Emptiness. You don't want to watch TV or read, just a feeling of loneliness. And this feeling is familiar to many. But do you know what can change this moment? A simple touch to yourself. A signal to your body. I'm here, I feel, I'm worthy of care. Because masturbation is not just physical pleasure, it's an emotional release. It helps relieve stress, reduce anxiety, and feel that you still have power over your own body and desires. And that's worth a lot. There is one more thing that is important to mention. As people age, their hormone levels decrease, particularly estrogen and testosterone. This can affect libido, mood, even sleep. But what is interesting is that regular masturbation stimulates the production of pleasure hormones, endorphins, as well as oxytocin. Oxytocin is the attachment hormone that makes us calm, relaxed, and gives us a sense of security. Masturbation can be a natural way to maintain this hormonal balance. Without pills, without side effects, just through contact with yourself. Of course, I understand that doubts may arise on the way to this. Someone will think, well, what at my age would I do this? It's shameful. But let me ask, in front of whom are you ashamed? In front of the body that you've been wearing since birth. In front of yourself, the one who has gone through a long life, experienced joys and losses, and is still here. No, you should be ashamed of indifference to yourself. But masturbation is the opposite, a manifestation of attention, tenderness, love for your body. If you've ever enjoyed sexual sensations, then that desire is part of your nature, and it doesn't go away even if it changes. Maybe arousal comes more slowly. Maybe your skin has become more sensitive or less responsive. These are all natural changes, but they don't mean the end of pleasure. They're just a game of new rules, and new rules mean new possibilities. Many people over 60 say, I have rediscovered myself. And it's not about returning to youth, but about accepting yourself as you are now. No rush, no pressure. With gratitude to the body that has served you faithfully for so many years. Give it some attention. It deserves it. Tell me, when was the last time you felt pleasure without looking back, just because you wanted to, without guilt, without fear of being wrong? We live in a world where older people's sexuality is ignored or perceived as taboo. But this is precisely why millions of people over 60 feel cut off from an important part of their lives, Let's abandon this notion. Let's recognize together that it is natural to feel, to want, to enjoy, at any age. Let masturbation not be something weird or for the young, but a way to remind yourself, I'm here, I'm alive, I can still feel, desire, enjoy. This is not about youth. This is about strength, about caring, about freedom. And if you're listening right now and thinking, maybe I should try, then you've probably already taken the first step, the most important one. Sometimes people say, but at this age I don't have desire anymore, it's gone. But you know what's interesting? In most cases, it's not a lack of desire, it's a lack of the habit of listening to your body. We live in a world where adulthood is often equated with the renunciation of feelings, and maturity with restraint. For too long, we've been told that pleasure should be left to the young, but the body doesn't forget, it remembers everything. Sometimes it's enough to just stop, slow down, touch, and suddenly you feel, desire is still there. It was just waiting to be awakened. Sometimes it's not just an internal prohibition that gets in the way, but also physical changes. For example, men may experience a slower erection. Women may experience decreased sensitivity or decreased lubrication. But you know what's important? This doesn't mean the end of pleasure. It's simply an invitation to a new rhythm, to a new style of intimacy with yourself. There's no rush, no must, just what's right for you now. Try starting with something simple, a warm bath, soft light, silence, not for the sake of masturbation as such, but for the sake of feeling yourself, feeling your skin, your body, warmth. Being with yourself at this moment is already an act of caring, and when you feel safe, relaxed, your body will begin to respond on its own. Maybe not right away, maybe in a few days, but it will respond. And one more thing, don't set goals. This is not a competition. This is not about the result. This is about the process, about the moment. If you just spend 10 minutes touching yourself, exploring new sensations, this will already be a step, small but important. Gradually, you will begin to feel where you feel good, where you want to hold the touch longer, and where, on the contrary, you want to pass by. This is a new dialogue with the body, without pressure, without haste, with respect. Sometimes women over 60 say, I've lost all interest in sex, I've become cold. But more often than not, it's not coldness, it's fatigue. Fatigue from life, from imposed roles, from the feeling that you always have to be on guard, in order, correct. Masturbation can become not just a way to regain sexuality, but a way to regain yourself, your voice, your pleasure, and not for someone else, but for yourself, because you deserve it, not because it's necessary, but because you live. And that's enough. There's one more important point. Touching yourself is not only about arousal, it can also be about healing. After all, we carry many memories in our bodies, sometimes painful, sometimes shameful. By touching ourselves with tenderness, we seem to say to our body, you are okay, I accept you. And this simple practice can give more than dozens of motivational books, because you begin to feel that your body is not an enemy, not a source of pain or disappointment, but your ally, your home. What about men? Very often men after 60 experience a feeling of loss of strength. In society, this is associated with erection, with potency, as if all masculinity is reduced to physical functions. But the truth is that real strength is not in this. It is in the ability to be in touch with yourself, in the ability to feel, to acknowledge your desires, to explore them without fear. And masturbation can become exactly the space where a man regains this feeling of control, strength, and at the same time, vulnerability. And this is not weakness. This is maturity. Masturbation also helps improve sleep. After all, when you are relaxed, the level of cortisol, the stress hormone, decreases, and the production of endorphins and oxytocin, on the contrary, increases. As a result, the body receives a signal. Everything is fine, you can rest. You go to bed not with anxiety, but with ease, and your sleep becomes deeper, and the morning becomes more pleasant. Who would have thought that 10-15 minutes of solitude with yourself could have such an effect? And also, don't be afraid to use additional means. There are now many natural lubricants, oils that make the process soft, comfortable, and enjoyable. There is nothing shameful in creating conditions for yourself. It's like setting a beautiful table, even if you are dining alone, because you are worth it. Some older people are embarrassed to talk about masturbation even with a doctor, and this is understandable. The topic is taboo, there are many myths around it, but if you have any physical limitations, chronic diseases, doubts, talk to a doctor. Look for someone who will hear you without judgment. After all, your health is not only about blood pressure and tests, it is also about quality of life, and intimate closeness with yourself is part of it. Sometimes even a small change in your daily routine can be the beginning of a big internal shift. For example, devoting 15 minutes before bed not to the TV, not to the news, but to contact with yourself. This can become a kind of quiet meditation, a ritual of solitude, and at this age, rituals are powerful. They create a sense of stability, meaning, inner warmth, even if everything around you seems unstable. And finally, don't let anyone tell you that you need to close yourself off as you get older. On the contrary, this is the time to open yourself up in a new way, not from the perspective of others' expectations, but from the perspective of inner freedom. Masturbation is not just a physical act, it is an act of acceptance. It is a way of saying to yourself, I can still do it. I still want to. I am still alive. Sometimes the most important step is to allow yourself to feel. After all, we have been taught our whole lives to control ourselves, not be selfish, be more modest. And when we are alone with ourselves in silence, the body seems to be ready, but a voice sounds inside. Is this normal at my age? And here you need to make the main choice, not in favor of the past, not in favor of fear, but in favor of yourself, here and now. When you learn to feel again, without judgment, without purpose, without looking back at others, you become familiar with yourself all over again. And this can be a wonderfully tender discovery, because at this age, you already know the value of time. You already know how to appreciate the present moments. You no longer want to live for later. You want to live honestly, deeply, truly. And masturbation, as unusual as it may sound, becomes part of this process. A small but important expression of self-love. You may find that in moments of intimacy with yourself, loneliness disappears, because you are not just passing time. You are connecting with something deeper than the physical. It is almost like talking to your soul, without words, just through breathing, touch, attention. It is as if the world becomes quieter, and you are left in complete acceptance, in complete peace. And also with time comes ease. Shyness goes away. The need to prove something to someone goes away, because you are no longer in a race, not in comparison. You just live, just breathe, just allow yourself to be. And when this inner judge disappears, freedom appears. Freedom to rejoice, freedom to experiment, freedom to be yourself. Many people fear that their bodies become different with age. They say that everything is not the same. But let me remind you, every wrinkled touch, every slow reaction is not a sign of fadding. It is an imprint of a life lived. And this life still goes on. Your body does not fail you. It changes, yes, but it remains yours. And if you begin to treat it with tenderness, it will respond. Masturbation can even become part of health care, especially for women who experience decreased blood flow to the pelvic organs after menopause. Regular stimulation helps maintain circulation, increases tissue elasticity, and reduces the risk of dryness and discomfort. It's not just about pleasure, it's about prevention, about care, about self-respect. Sometimes we hear, what if I've never had this before? What if I don't know how? And that's okay. It's never too late to start. There are no instructions, no right or wrong. There's just you and your body. Allow yourself to learn as if you were a curious child discovering the world for the first time, gently, without criticism, with interest. You can turn on some music, you can close your eyes, you can just put your hand on your stomach and feel how you breathe, and maybe that will be enough for the first time, and the second time you will want a little more, and this will be your path, without haste, without expectations, only with acceptance. No one has the right to decide for you how exactly you express your sensuality. Your life is yours, your body is yours, and if touching yourself makes you calmer, happier, more alive, then who's to say it's not necessary? There is something special about this age. You are no longer afraid of losing. You have already experienced a lot, and that is why you can allow yourself what you used to prohibit. Masturbation becomes not just an action, but almost an act of freedom. And every time you choose to be with yourself, it is as if you are returning a piece of the energy that you used to give to others. Now it is for you, with love, with attention, with gratitude. Some viewers might be sitting in front of the screen right now and feeling, I don't know if I can, and that's also fair. It's okay to be unsure. Allow yourself to be unsure, and just be kind to yourself. Sometimes all it takes is to start with the thought, what if it's possible? What if I can do it too? You'd be surprised how profoundly the quality of your life can change if you add more gentleness to it, more body acceptance, more pleasure without excuses, because you don't have to deserve joy. You just have a right to it, by birthright, by age right, by being human. And if at least one person after this video closes their eyes, puts their hands on themselves and says, I have myself, then all this was not in vain. It means there is a chance that someone will feel warmth again, joy, life. That's why it's so important to talk about it, without shame, without taboo, because your body, your desire, your pleasure are not a topic for silence. They are part of your unique, beautiful story, a story that continues. If at least something resonated with you, write about it, share in the comments. Maybe your experience will help someone else. Or maybe it will just be the beginning of a new stage in your life, where you are not just a grandmother or grandfather, not just a parent or a pensioner, but just a living person, feeling whole, beautiful. Like this video if it was important to you. Subscribe so you don't miss more honest, heartfelt, and useful conversations. Here we are not afraid to speak out loud about what is important, even if we have been silent about it all our lives. Take care of yourself, and remember, you deserve joy, at any stage, in any body, at any age. You are still alive, which means everything is possible.